Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into the impact of generative AI on freelancing. We're going to be looking at a research paper called Who is AI Replacing? The Impact of Generative AI on Online Freelancing Platforms.
Oh, yeah, that's a fascinating one.
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting paper.
It is.
It's from Harvard Business School, DIW Berlin, and Imperial College London.
A lot of big names on that one.
Yeah, a lot of brain power went into this one.
Absolutely. And this paper really gets to the heart of the matter, you know. They looked at over 1 million job posts from a leading global freelancing platform over 2 years. So they can give us a really detailed look at how AI is actually changing things right now on these online labor markets.
And these online labor markets, or OLMs, as the paper refers to them, are so interesting to look at in this context.
Oh, for sure.
Because they are truly global. These platforms connect freelancers and clients all over the world, creating a fast-paced environment where trends emerge quickly, and we can see the effects of technologies like generative AI almost immediately.
Yeah, that's what makes this study so interesting. They honed in on a really specific, well-known AI tools. So they looked at ChatGPT for text and code generation, and then for image creation, they examined MidJourney and DALL-E.
So the ones that are really making a splash.
Exactly. And to analyze all this data, the authors actually, they created clusters of similar job types.
Okay.
Things like writing, software development, graphic design, that sort of thing. And this allowed them to look at the effects of these tools on specific freelance occupations.
I see. And that's where this AI Occupational Exposure Index comes in.
Ah, yes, the AIOE.
The AIOE. This index measures how susceptible different jobs are to AI, particularly advances in AI language modeling.
Right. And they calculated it using surveys linked to the ONET database, which I thought added a lot of credibility to their approach.
Yeah, for sure. And what really jumped out at me was the difference between jobs with high AIOEs and those with low AIOEs.
Yeah, you see a clear pattern there.
Yeah.
The jobs that are more manual, like data entry or audio and video services, those had much lower AIOE scores.
Okay.
Whereas jobs that, we often think of as being vulnerable to automation, like writing, engineering, those had much higher AIOE scores.
And the study found a direct link between these AIOE scores and the actual changes happening in these freelance marketplaces after the launch of ChatGPT.
Yeah, and it's really striking. We see a 21% greater decline in demand for jobs with high AIOE scores compared to those with low scores.
So a pretty significant impact in a short period of time. The launch of ChatGPT seems to have really shaken things up.
It really has. And when you break it down even further by those job clusters we were talking about, it gets even more interesting. Freelance writing positions, for instance, saw a 30% decrease in demand after ChatGPT.
30%. That's a huge drop. A lot of freelancers must be feeling that right now. What about the other clusters?
Software web development took a 21% hit.
Wow.
And even engineering, which, you might think would be relatively safe.
Yeah.
They still saw an 11% decrease.
So those AIOE scores are definitely painting a clear picture here.
They really are.
Of which jobs are going to be most impacted.
It's fascinating stuff.
But I know that the study also discovered something unexpected. It's not just about a reduction in jobs.
Yeah, that's a crucial point.
Yeah.
It's not just fewer jobs overall. We're also seeing the remaining jobs becoming more complex. And interestingly, they're becoming better paid.
So it's almost like AI is pushing freelancers to become more specialized, more expert.
Absolutely. And because the number of jobs is shrinking, the competition for those remaining positions is getting really fierce.
Yeah, you can imagine.
The study actually found more bids per job post after ChatGPT came out, so it's a more competitive landscape out there now.
So it's like a double whammy. Fewer jobs and more competition.
That's it, exactly.
I'm curious about the image generating AI, though. Did they also look at the impact of tools like MidJourney and DALL-E too?
They did, and it's interesting, much like with text-based AI, we see similar trends in those fields that really rely on visual content.
So even creative professions, which some people thought would be more protected, are being impacted by these new tools.
After tools like MidJourney were released, the study found a 17% greater decline in demand for jobs like graphic design and 3D modeling.
It seems like no field is truly immune to these changes that AI is bringing to freelancing.
Yeah, it really challenges a lot of the assumptions about which jobs are safe. And, AI is developing so quickly, its impact is expanding all the time. And the study didn't stop there.
Oh.
The researchers actually incorporated Google Trends data into their analysis, which I thought was really clever.
That's fascinating. Can you tell me a bit more about how they use Google Trends?
Sure. So they looked at the Google Search Volume Index, or SVI, to get a sense of how aware the public was of ChatGPT's potential to replace certain jobs.
So they were essentially looking at how often people were searching for things like, ChatGPT writing or ChatGPT coding.
Exactly. And they found a strong correlation. The higher the search volume for something like ChatGPT writing, the greater the decrease in demand for freelance writers.
So public perception itself, as reflected in these search trends, was actually influencing the labor market. It's not just about what the AI can do. It's also about how people perceive its impact on work.
It's a key insight.
Yeah.
Public awareness seems to play a part in how fast these changes are happening.
And they track these trends over time as well to see how things developed after that initial launch of ChatGPT.
Yeah, they wanted to see if it was just a temporary blip.
Right.
And what they found was that the negative impact on those automation-prone jobs actually continued to grow over time.
So it's not going away.
No. Well, and with the release of even more advanced versions like ChatGPT Plus and GPT-4, those trends only intensified.
So we're not looking at a temporary phenomenon. We're seeing a continuous trend that seems to be accelerating as AI evolves.
Exactly. It raises some very important questions about the future of freelancing.
For sure. What skills will be most valuable in this new world? Will AI ultimately augment human capabilities or lead to mass job displacement?
Yeah, those are some of the big questions we're all thinking about.
Yeah. And while we don't have all the answers yet,
Right.
it's important to recognize the tremendous potential of AI as well.
It's not just about jobs disappearing.
Yes.
It's about new opportunities, about developing new skills, and fundamentally changing how we think about work.
And we're really just at the beginning of this whole transformation. This research gives us a snapshot of what's happening now, but the story is still unfolding. I'm really curious to see what comes next.
Me too. It's a fascinating time to be watching this space. I think a lot of freelancers, and really anyone in a field that could be impacted by AI, they need to be aware of these trends and start adapting.
So it's not just about being really good at a particular skill anymore. It's about knowing how AI can be used to enhance those skills.
Yeah.
How to integrate these tools and, how to use AI to deliver even more value to your client.
Exactly. AI is upping the ante for what it takes to succeed as a freelancer these days.
But it's not just on the individual freelancers to adapt, though, right?
No, definitely not. The platforms themselves have a responsibility here, too.
What do you mean?
Well, they need to start preparing their users for this future where AI is so integrated. They need to be giving freelancers the knowledge and the tools they need to thrive.
So things like training programs, educational resources, maybe even new ways to show AI skills on their profiles.
All of that. The platforms need to step up and help their users navigate this shift.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, going back to the research paper itself,
Yeah.
I was really impressed by how in-depth and rigorous their methodology was.
Oh, absolutely. The authors did a phenomenal job of ensuring their findings were valid.
Yeah, they used this combination of quantitative and qualitative analysis.
Right.
And even brought in sophisticated statistical techniques to control for potential biases.
Right.
And that really helped them to isolate the impact of AI on these labor markets.
Yeah, and they didn't just rely on the raw numbers.
Yeah.
They actually delved into the job posts themselves to analyze how the actual requirements were changing over time.
So they were combining that hard data with, a deeper, more nuanced understanding of what was actually happening.
That's right. They wanted to get the full picture.
Did they look at all at how individual freelancers were reacting to all of this?
Well, the paper didn't go into too much detail on individual responses, but there were some interesting findings about specific skills that became more sought after after ChatGPT was released.
Yeah, it's like we were saying earlier about ChatGPT itself becoming a skill in some of these job posts.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Expertise in AI is a specialization now. Over 88% of the job posts listing ChatGPT as a required skill were in those automation-prone categories like software development.
So as some of those more traditional roles are shrinking, there's this parallel growth
That's it.
in demand for expertise in these AI tools.
It's a real trend.
Were there any other AI skills that they looked at?
They didn't specifically track other AI skills.
Okay.
But anecdotally, we're seeing things like prompt engineering, AI model training, data analysis.
Right.
Those are becoming incredibly valuable.
It really seems like we're seeing this whole new category of freelance work emerging.
I think so.
That's all centered around AI and its applications.
And I think that as AI continues to develop, we're going to see even more specialized AI roles popping up.
Like what kinds of things?
Oh, who knows? AI ethics consultants, AI-powered marketing specialists. The possibilities are pretty endless.
It's exciting to think about and a little bit overwhelming, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But it seems like this is definitely something to watch. It'll be interesting to see how the freelance platforms themselves adapt and how freelancers position themselves in this evolving market.
It's a fascinating question. Will we see more freelance jobs overall or fewer?
Yeah.
Will AI really help people do their jobs better, or will it just replace them altogether?
Big questions.
Yeah, really big questions. And I don't think anyone has the answers yet.
Right. But it's important to recognize that AI does offer a ton of opportunities.
Absolutely.
It's not all doom and gloom.
Right. And it's crucial to remember that we are still really early on in this whole process. This research gives us a glimpse of what's happening right now.
Right.
But the real story is still being written. It really feels like we're at this turning point.
Yeah, it does.
What do you think is the most important takeaway from all of this for our listeners?
I think if I had to pick one, it would be adaptability.
That's a good one.
This isn't just about, learning a new piece of software or a new skill. This is about a fundamental shift in how work happens.
I think freelancers really need to start seeing these tools as allies.
Yeah.
Not as the enemy.
So instead of being afraid of AI, embrace it, learn how to use it effectively.
Absolutely. Learn how to make it part of what you already do. How to use it to make your existing skills even better, even to build new skills. Remember those complementary skills we talked about?
Yeah.
Like thinking strategically, creative problem solving, really connecting with clients on a human level.
Right.
Those are going to be so crucial moving forward.
It's almost like AI is pushing us to be more human in our work.
Yeah, I like that.
Focus on the things that AI can't do.
At least not yet. And it's not just about surviving. It's about thriving. There's a real chance here for freelancers to really benefit from this if they're willing to embrace the change and learn and adapt.
You mentioned earlier that we're just at the beginning of all of this.
Yeah.
What do you see happening down the road for freelancers in this new AI world?
I think we're going to start seeing totally new types of freelance work popping up. We're already seeing a little bit of that with the demand for prompt engineers and people who can train AI models.
Right.
But I think that's really just the start. As AI gets more sophisticated, we're going to need people who can customize those models for specific tasks.
Okay.
Who can create the training data, audit them for bias, even consult on how to use AI strategically in all sorts of different industries.
It's exciting to think about all the possibilities. A little bit intimidating, too. if I'm being honest.
Yeah, a bit of both.
But I really think this is ultimately a good thing. AI can free us from a lot of the repetitive work.
For sure.
It can help us be more creative, more productive.
Right.
It could lead to so much more innovation.
Absolutely.
It's a really interesting time.
I completely agree. There will definitely be challenges, but I do think the opportunities outweigh the risks.
Yeah.
And for people who are ready for what's coming, the future looks pretty bright.
This has been such an insightful conversation. It's clear that generative AI is changing the world of freelancing in really profound ways.
It is.
But as we've discussed, it's not all about jobs disappearing. It's also about adaptation and innovation and this whole new way of working.
I think that's a great way to put it. I really encourage everyone listening to take a look at this research and think about what it means for you and your work.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks for having me. This was a great conversation.
And for our listeners, keep learning, keep exploring, keep asking the tough questions. Until next time, goodbye.